This computer. There we go. Sweet. So welcome. I'm Sid. I'm the county lead volunteer, but also going to be the team lead for the Canada trip in 2026. I'm the one that sent out all the emails to say you've got on and well done and welcome. It's a fairly informal tonight. I'm just going to go through some rough things, a few games, but it's just to set the scene for the next couple of years of what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be working together. And we'll go into detail on that. If you've got questions at any time, pop them in the chat. Don't use emotions like raise your hand or anything because there are so many in this room. We just can't manage that. So if you have got a question, just whack it in the chat. But there are times as well where we'll formally stop and ask if there are any questions as well as we go through. So, people are still arriving. Okay. So if I go quiet, it's because I'm trying to multitask and failing miserably. Okay, so who's coming to Canada? Well, believe it or not, there's 97 young people coming on the trip.
Wow.
Okay, now that sounds a huge amount, and that is a huge amount. We've got a leadership team of about 22 at the moment. And what you can see is who signed up at the moment. This is the important bit. So at the moment, there are 21 explorers that have signed up. There are 10 network and 66 scouts. By the time we actually get to Canada, that will have transformed into 52 explorers, 15 network, and 30 scouts. So what that means is we're going to make this into quite a special trip, even more so, because we're going to have to think about where we're going to go, because it's going to be very difficult to take 125 people all to the one area and do a paddling route. It just won't. So what we'll end up doing is going across to Canada together, but then based on people's friendship groups and abilities groups, we'll go different ways of paddling, but we'll come back to the bigger tourist areas. Now, that could mean for the network, we push you further into the wild, which will require a bit more training. Or that could mean that actually the network are too scared and they might want to go closer, and the scouts will just go into the deep bear country and see what we can find when we get out there, But it gives us an idea of who's coming and sort of the grand scale of things that's gonna happen. And it's been really cool because this means now we've got big buying power in terms of numbers. It means you can choose what you want to do and with a lot more. And I can't give you the shopping list at the moment because we've got to do all the research. We just know we're going to Canada for 2 weeks. We're going to do about a week expedition on the boats, and the rest is all sightseeing. So we've got to think about what are you going to be doing then over the next few months, year and a half. Well, you're going to be doing paddling pool sessions to begin with, and you're probably thinking, why that? Well, we want to see how everyone comes together in terms of how you can swim, see what you like on the boats in a nice sort of safe area, but also do lots of rescue techniques and things like that. We'll be doing plenty of paddle sessions, and I'll come to more on those in a bit. You'll be doing some practice paddle expeditions, the main one being next summer. You'll be working towards fundraising. So we, as a contingent, we want to help you fundraise your money. So we'll be splitting into teams and doing things together. We'll be running extra sessions as well. So we'll be doing extra paddle sessions, extra meetup sessions, just so that you can be more social within the groups that you're going to be going with, but also a chance to put more practice in with your water skills. And as you go through that, we'll obviously be chatting with your own leaders and making sure that any progress you make on your badges and things will make sure that time on the water and expeditions and adventure and various international elements all get recorded. And there'll be plenty of opportunities for other expeditions too. So we've got this core thing that we'll be offering. But as we go through, we will be offering more that you can sign up to as extra optional activities. What you need to be able to commit to and make sure that we're good to go is you need to support each other on our journey. So everyone together, we're all going to get ready to go to Canada for a couple of weeks. And so we want everyone to be supportive and helpful to get us to that point. And we want to support and participate in fundraising so that when we do extra opportunities, we will, sort of look at Bagpacking, we will look at market stalls, we will look at fundraising nights and quiz nights, and we'll do that locally within your own group areas, your own districts, but also a bit bigger on the county front. You committed to paddling days that we've mentioned in terms of the camps coming together. You need to be able to confidently paddle canoe by the time we go, and we've got a great planned journey for that in terms of doing different practice days over the next year and a half. Now you're probably thinking, well, all these extra things that Sid keeps saying about these extra days. So the paddle days are all part of the trip, but we need to form the leadership team first before we can give out the dates. So you've got your camp dates, and what we will do is we will give you extra dates to come paddling in an afternoon or come out for a day. And that's to get you trained up more so you can make good decisions on the day on the water, but also we can get more practice out for the various sort of wild camping as well. When you're wild camping, it's free, so there's no cost to that because obviously we're in the middle of nowhere and giving that good practice. So what we're looking at then is we're looking at having meet and greet today, just to say, setting the scene. On the 19th of January, we're going to have a face-to-face meeting at the 8th Worcester Scout Hut in Worcester. And then we'll start having some swimming pool sessions in the spring. We're building up to some summer paddle days with our first camp at Warren Oak, which will be in May. And we'll start doing some more paddle days over the autumn with a view of meeting up in London or coming together in London. Obviously, we'll travel down together and having a city camp. So that's getting us trained up and ready for when we go and explore around Toronto and places. And in the spring, we'll be doing more paddle days and sessions with the view then that we'll do an expedition. And we're thinking at the moment it would be on the river, on the upper River Wye. And then depending on how skilled you are or, what sort of groups you're in, that'll dictate what sort of expedition we do. And then we'll do some more paddling in the summer with a final camp, I think, which is in the June. And then obviously we go off to Canada in the summer. Now, the actual dates for the trip itself, we don't know yet because we need to book the flights. Once we can book the flights, we can then confirm everything. And generally, we can do that 12 to 18 months beforehand. So as soon as we've got those dates locked in, we will let you know. But like we said, we are aiming for the first 2 weeks of the Worcestershire school holidays, school term time. So lots to think about. So essentially what we're saying is we're going to come together a few times. We're going to do a few skill days here and there over the next few months. The first big meetup will be in January, and then we'll sort of have each group of us will have a swim pool session, and we'll have a play on the canoes, kayaks, and learn to rescue different techniques, moving up to other things as we go through. So I mentioned a few dates there. These are all on the website, so you should have seen these when you were like checking it out and wondering what was going on. But we got our first training camp, which is the 9th, 11th of May, and that's going to be at Warren Oak, which is near Ledbury in Herefordshire. Then we've got our second training camp next year, which is the 10th, the 12th of October, and that's going to be in London. It'll either be a scout campsite in London or it'll be Gilwell. We haven't booked it yet. And then we're looking to do an expedition in 26 in Easter. And then we've got our in-county campsite on the 26th to 28th of June, a venue to be confirmed. So those dates, these are the mandatory dates. These are the things you have to attend. Now, I appreciate we've been quite clever around things around school exam times and things. I think we've shoved things either end as best we possibly can do. And if you are having any exams around that point in time, we are quite flexible. We'll discuss how we can support you and things. And then in between, we've got all the various training days. There'll be plenty of opportunity. We just want you to be able to paddle forwards, backwards, sideways, rescue somebody in deep water, and turn a canoe in moving water. Now, all that sounds rather simple, but it'll take a few sessions for us to get there. There are some people coming to Canada that are already experts and can do all that. And there are some that we just need to get to a level, and we can do that within a few months. We're just giving ourselves a lot longer just to make sure we get you there. So there shouldn't be any worry about those sort of paddling elements. So, as I've mentioned there, then we're going to have optional expeditions, paddle days, social meetups, and sleepover events. Now, the paddle days and the socials They're all part of everything, be part of the training cost. If we do other expeditions, i.e., a weekend or a few days away, there could be costs incurred to that, and that's optional, but we'll let you know. And the sleepover events genuinely will be part of the budget anyway, because they'll just be a local sort of part of a social meetup, if you like. But because there's 100 of us, those kind of events, we have to think quite cleverly about how we do things. So we might end up just doing things in our sort of scout groups or in our paddling experience groups and things like that. Hopefully that all makes sense. So before we go any further, I want to hear about what you're thinking about Canada, and for the leaders that are dialing into the call as well, we want to see what it is that you're thinking. So with your phone, or open another browser open a browser up, go to menti.com and enter the code that you can see there, or you use the QR code if you've got a mobile phone. You can do it on your mobile phone as well. And you enter the code 89748878, and then just give me a thumbs up once you've done that in the little facility that you can do in Menti online. And somewhere here, I go to that one, share. There we go. People are starting to log on. Excellent. Now I've lost all facility to chat now because it's gone blank because I'm now in Menti as the main lead. But we've got a chance later in Menti where you can ask questions, or you can just wait until we finish the Menti bit. Just for someone to come in. Oh no, I can see chat. You okay? That's cool. So we've got 62, 79 signed up, so we could do with at least another 10 signing in. For those that have huddled together at scout groups, you can put more than one response into word clouds that we're going to be doing, but there will be some quiz questions. So one of you would need to decide what the correct answer is before you put it in. So that's just some rules about how to use Menti if you're in a group of you.
We've got a phone each.
What was that? Sorry?
8 Worcester has a phone each.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Even better. There we go. Well organized. We're getting there. Right then. So,
You in it?
yeah. Question: what are you most looking forward to when we are in Canada? What are you most looking forward to when we are in Canada? So think about what you're going to be doing and start putting in what it is you're looking forward to the most. Lunch. So camping, canoeing, the experience and adventures kicking in. Niagara Falls, yeah, this is a wicked place. Wildlife, yeah. Seeing a new country. Awesome. Fishing, yeah, definitely. We'll be practicing that as we build up in the next 18 months, but definitely when we're canoeing out there, you'll be fishing for food. Hopefully, you'll be seeing the lakes. Friendships, good. Mooses, yeah. Plenty of moose if we're lucky. Bears, definitely, if we're lucky.
Or not lucky.
Or not lucky, it depends on, yeah, definitely. Visiting new countries, good. Yeah, meeting new people, definitely. I mean, we're also with our contacts from various international trips some of us done before. We're hoping to meet up with other groups when we're out there as well, or use their facilities too. So plenty of opportunity to see Canadian scouts as well as Canadians. Seeing an elk, okay. So an elk is technically a moose. An elk, I believe, isn't that the European version? But there we go. I could be wrong. Explore friendships and playing. Okay, cool. So let's flip the question. What are you most worried about? Now, that could be anything about upcoming the next 18 months, or it could be something you're worried about when we get to Canada. Food. Yeah, food's always one. Being eaten there. Definitely. Midges. We'd definitely be having midge nets. Drowning. Okay. Bugs and diseases. Beavers. Mooses. Capsizing. Canoeing all the time. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Wild turkeys, getting lost, bears and moose, bugs and diseases, being eaten, hungry.
Theme going on here, I think.
Yeah. Getting lost and being food for the bears is what you'd read if you were reading the big kings of the word cloud. That's cool. So we're going to have plenty of training on what to do with wildlife in Canada. So how we're going to deal with food and bears are interesting because they do go hand in hand. But in terms of food choice, obviously we'll get to know you quite well on the build up to camp. There is certain things we'll be able to support and certain things not. It all depends what it is about food, whether you're a fussy eater, whether you're just worried about it not being like food at home. We'll definitely look at that. And yeah. Oh, I think everyone's saying the same kind of things, isn't it? It's just getting used to being in the canoe. It's about being worrying about the wildlife and worrying about the food. Not worried. Fair play. Okay, I like that. They're all coming through nicely. So, what do you think then is the most important thing we need to train for? So think about the things that you're looking forward to. Think of the things you're not. What is it you think actually if we're going to spend 5 days in the wilderness or 3 days exploring Toronto or flying for the first time? What are the things you need to think about? Really cool. I like watching lots of YouTube channels on canoeing and lots of wilderness canoeing expeditions. I quite like. There's a chap called Jim Bard who's in Canada, and I think him and his brother they won some wilderness TV award by staying out in the wilderness for ages. But he now just does 2 or 3 week expedition trips. He's worth looking at. He gives lots of good ideas and how he catches fish, from grayling to trout to salmon. But also talks about with canoeing, sometimes it's not just about paddling, it's how you're going to carry a canoe on the land as well, because you have to portage around certain parts. So portage is when you have to lift the canoe out of the water and walk around and carry the canoe around a sort of a hazard that we can't paddle through. So plenty of other YouTube channels out there, but that's always worth looking for. But yep, packing here, bear evasion, getting lost. Which berries are bad? Yeah, definitely. Um, bear counting, not being bear food, not losing anything. I can guarantee someone will lose something. Getting syrup from trees. How to make Sid not make Sid mad. Sid doesn't get mad. He's always a happy bunny. Cool. Okay, so lots to think about there then too. Bit of a fun question then. This question here then. What is this how it works? Oh no. What have I done wrong? Here we go. Picture on the right-hand side, what is this famous Canadian dish called? You've got 12 more seconds to answer.
Delicious. That's what it's called.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Yes, the correct answer is poutine. So poutine is if you spelt it wrong, it doesn't matter. But basically, it is chips. It is a cheese whey and gravy. It looks interesting and it is very tasty. And when you walk around cities in Canada and other places, there's fast food restaurants that you can just go in and you can just buy them in trays. Something that you'll need to get your head around when you're trying out different food. So, who got it right and who got it right the quickest? Wolfmeister, whoever Wolfmeister is. Well done. Bit of fun. Okay, let's test your knowledge, seeing how much research you might have done for Canada. And what is the capital of Canada? Cool. So, correct answer then is Ottawa. Well done if you got it right. Testing your Canadian knowledge. Okay, so we're talking about visiting Toronto. On the map, where do you think Toronto is? Hmm. Okay, I'm going to show you where it is. It is, there we go. So those 25 people that got it right, well done. It's down in the southeasterly part, quite close to New York State. Not New York City, but New York State on the borders. And you've got Maine in the States as well, which is up by number 3. Okay, cool. So if you didn't know where Toronto is, maybe it might be time to have a look and search things about Canada, work out where Toronto is, where Calgary is, where Ottawa is. Okay. And do start doing a bit of research on the different types of lakes that are out there and where you can go paddling and all the different advice that will come through. Okay, so let's see this one. We talked about moose and we've talked about animals. So here's one. So moose. So if you get it quick, great. So here comes the question. A moose is the same size as a car, true or false? I see. It is actually false. Mooses are actually bigger than your standard car. They're absolutely huge. So I think they grow height-wise about 2.2 meters, and the big mooses weigh between 750 and 850 kilograms. So virtually the same weight as a small car. So there's a little, this might work, it might not. Let's see. No, It won't work. If you Google sizes of moose, there's a video, and it's moose that walk along the side of a car, and they're just immense size animals. But the video doesn't work. So sorry about that. Right. How many species of bear are there in Canada? Are there two, three, or four? So the correct answer is four. And they are the brown bear, which you might know as the grizzly bear, the black bear, the commode bear, and that's quite a rare bear. People don't you don't really get to see that, and the polar bear. And if we see a polar bear, something's gone horribly wrong, because obviously they're really up north, um, up in the Arctic. So, but each bear has different types of habits and behaviors. And when we're out and about, and we'll do some training on this, we'll see signs of bear, and we might be lucky to see bear, but we'll definitely see signs. And you'll be able to spot what sort of bear it is. And there are certain things you can do, or certain things you have to do if you see bears. So, bit of research on bears. So I think it's all tied in. So that goes to Bo, doesn't it? Yeah, there we go. 991 points. Well done. Okay. So, any questions so far? I will sit here quietly for a couple of minutes. Maybe not. No. How many humans can eat a bear? I don't know. I suppose it depends which bear you go for, really, doesn't it? Maybe that's one to research. What happens if you run into a bear? Well, on a serious note, the leaders will and some of the crew will have bear protection. And so it depends on that sort of situation, but it's highly unlikely we will actually purposefully run into a bear. We'll more than accidentally paddle past one, or you'll see them on the roads and things like that. But depending on the type of bear, depends on what you do. And we'll talk about that when we meet up. What happens if we feel homesick? It's a good question. Well, we'll be practicing lots of different camps before we get there. When we're out there and you do feel homesick, then obviously we'll see, we'll talk you through it and we'll see what's going on and we'll see what we can do to make you feel better. Will the bears eat us? Doubtful. Tents or lodges. So in theory, we will be in either hotel rooms or scout hut floors in Toronto. And then when we go out on the canoes, we are going to be looking at camping in a tent or under a fly sheet, or in some cases, which routes, depending on you get put on, we will be hiring sort of like little log cabins and things. But it all depends on what route you do and how many people go on those routes and whether they've been booked out before we get a chance to book them. But as we're planning so far down the road, we should be able to get what we choose and what we want. Will we get training on how to fish? Yes, definitely. You'll be get taught. So every time we hit the river, there'll be times when we'll do that, and we'll also have fishing days as well. And you can come down and we can do some fishing days using the type of fishing equipment that you will use when we go out there, which will mainly be spinners or lures. How long is the flight? If memory serves, is about 7 hours if we get the right flight. So it's not too far. But it depends if we try and reduce the costs with flights. Now, sometimes a direct flight is the cheapest, but sometimes going via Reykjavik in Iceland and doing a transfer could be cheaper as well. But we're trying, obviously, where we can to keep costs down. So that's the flights. Can we bring our own rods? Yes, you can, but they're going to be packed. Sports equipment won't form part of the your luggage allowance as such, because we get it added as a group booking. But you can bring your own rods. Obviously, the best sort of things will be ones that break down really small or telescopic. What happens if you get injured? Well, you're insured. If it's injured whilst we're out and about, and a leader can deal with it in terms of first aid, that'll happen. If it's anything worse than that, then it's the same as in the UK. We just go to the hospital. But obviously, we don't want to get injured. How many humans can eat a bear? I don't know. What happens if you run a bear? Okay, that's all the questions then, isn't it? I think. Cool, excellent. So I'm going to flip back into the presentation. He says that one there. Cool. So what needs doing then? So looking forward, we're going to work out your teams, who you're going to be teamed up with initially, and those teams will be the teams that you're together to help each other prepare and fundraise as well. So most likely we'll be looking to do that within districts and within sections. But we also got to think how that works with paddling, because there could be some really experienced paddlers in South Marches and Worcester, and we might want to bring you together to do certain paddle days. And that also would dictate where perhaps we might take you on the canoeing expedition in Canada too. But equally, we want to put you into those groups so that we can plan and develop your skills. And we're going to develop those in your paddling experience within the groups and do that nights away. And then as we get closer to Canada, we might change those groups, because you might want to change groups because you make new friends, or it could be that you're thinking, actually, I'm a bit more skilled in these areas and I want to go with that group. And we'll also start to plan our adventures in Canada. So we know that we're definitely going to Toronto, and we're definitely going to have a trip out to the Niagara Falls. So anything else is fair game, and there's a budget, and we'll put the budget on the table, and you get to choose where it is you want to go. You might want to go to the CN Tower, you might not. You might want to go and see Toronto's sign in the middle. You might want to go and see some of the old buildings. You might want to go on the tram. There's plenty of things that you might want to do. So we're going to have planning camps to look at that in our groups and slowly bring that all together. The next element then to this is we're going to come together on the 19th of January at the 8th Worcester Hut, and we'll send all this information out, but we'll be there from 10:30 till 4 p.m. So you'll need to bring your own lunch and be prepared to be outside. So you need to make sure you've got waterproofs and boots, but everything will be on land because it's just coming together face to face to start planning and thinking about these activities. So between now and when we meet, so over Christmas holidays, it'll be really useful if you could start to think about things that you want to do in Toronto and start doing a bit of research on Google or another search site of your choosing, but have a look and see what's going on. And those elements will all come together, and we can also answer more and more questions. Okay. Right. So to help us then communicate, we've got a Facebook group, and we've also got a WhatsApp group for all participants. Now, some of you might not be old enough for WhatsApp, but by the time we go, you should be. Your parents obviously might allow you to join, but we'll have an all participants WhatsApp group. Parents, that's for you as well. It's just an open comms channel. As we develop into the groups, that will naturally break down into smaller chat groups. You'll have one for your own area or your own team, but there'll always be an all participants. So every time we send out a contingent-wide communication, it will always be put on the WhatsApp group and also on the Facebook group. It's set to ask questions on Facebook, so you need to make sure that you answer those questions, otherwise it will just discontinue. And the WhatsApp group, I think we have to manually add you in, but when you do put your come onto Facebook, please make sure you're using your own name on Facebook, on WhatsApp, because some people put funny symbols or they didn't put their name, and we don't know who you are. So we only let people on that we can recognize the name from. So we'll start to communicate more now as we go through. And they're the two plus email. That says 3 main channels that we'll be using. Okay. The next email you're going to get will have that information, but there'll also be the emails about payments and where to make payments for, and how that's going to work with fundraising, and how you put all the how you work that through. You should have all by now logged in to the Jot form, and the Jot form tells us who you'd like to be paired up with. If you've got preferences, and the Jot form also tells us about anything you want us to know about before we start organising, but also gives you a preference on how you want to start making your payments towards the trip as well. And that's gone out. So I think that's it from me. I've got nothing major to update, although I've just seen that Sky's put questions in. There was more questions. One was, will we have kit in the canoes? What happens if we capsize? Good question. So when we're in the canoe, when we're in Canada, we are hiring from what they call outfitters. And so you go and hire the canoe and you hire all the equipment. And part of that equipment will be a drum and some dry bags. And you can whack in all the kit into the drum and that becomes sealant and you strap that down. And you can then have a dry bag. Now, both things also will have rucksack straps on because when we do what we call portage, or even when we're like moving around, you've got to be able to carry things on your back as well. So they'll all come with straps. So we also have, that's the other thing, all these complexities start to kick in because if you're a little person, how are you going to carry all that kit? So we also have to start thinking about how we can plan that and support you in doing all those things too. So we're planning to go on canoes. What we might do in the build up to the canoes is we might also use sit on top kayaks. But we will work that through as we go through. But when we're out there, we're going to be hiring canoes or what they're called. They're like inflatable canoes. So basically, they're just things that are a bit like a whitewater raft, but they're in the shape of a canoe, and you shove all your kit into the canoe, and you zip up on a watertight zip, and so it's nice and lightweight. So there are different elements. So the payment details will all be sent by email. Yes, so you get all that, and then Ivan, you've put, can we take phones? So I discourage you to bring phones to camps, to the sort of the weekends, because I think they're a bit of a distraction, and I think you're better focused. If we explicitly tell you you can't bring phones, we'll let you know. When you're in Canada, you've got to remember that when we're out for pretty much 2/3 of the trip, you won't have access to mobile phone signal. So the leaders will have sat phones, but they'll be there. So might want to get used to bringing cameras. Well done, Finley. Definitely bring cameras so that you can do that, and you can definitely think about how you want to do that. So you can definitely bring GoPros. I wear a GoPro when I go canoeing all the time because I like filming you doing silly things when you capsize and you go crazy. So definitely welcome to do that. Now, when you start to add these things in, our insurance policies will only cover just so much, and we'll cover the insurance policy near the time. We probably won't be using Unity Insurance because of the specialist nature that we're doing. So Unity Insurance is our own insurance company, and they do all the brokering. So they're not the underwriters, but they're the brokers. But you might want to think about how you can do that. Dawn's put, can we fly in one plane? So yes, it's a good question. They don't always allow us to go out in one big group. We're currently flying, the Costa Rica are flying out to Canada first. We're doing a split trip. We're flying to Canada, then down to Costa Rica, and they've allowed us to book en masse on there. It all depends whether they will allow us. But equally, we might not end up going to the same places. So there is talk about some of network potentially going to the Rockies on the other side of Canada. But we've got lots of options to play around with at the moment, and we'll come to that when we come to it. Do you need any parent helpers? Well, we've got enough leaders now. There's quite a large commitment. So I was a nervous wreck when they went to Canada without phones. Please let them take them so we can track their journey. So when you come with any trip on me, you can track. We have trackers. So every group will have a tracker. So you'll be able to track people wherever they go. And you'll definitely find that I think you get a better experience without a phone on the journey. And yes, Amy's just put that there too. And Charlie's like, no, we very much like taking your phones. Okay. So, we'll come to that when we come to that, but there's that genuine need that they don't need their phones. But like you're saying, there are other ways that we can get around that. Of course, by the time we go, we could be like Australia. So we might not be able to let you have phones anyway. Where do we get a copy of the jot form? So if you've got the link from this chat to this Zoom meeting, that was on the email that had the jot form. But what I'll do is when I send out this information from tonight and the link to the video to everybody, I'll make sure that the jot form link also goes in there too. Awesome. So I said it would be 45 minutes, possibly an hour. So we're coming up to the 45 minutes. I've got given you all the sort of the basic details. So the main thing definitely to think about now, Anne, is this 19th of January and getting some ideas about what you want to do when we go out there, and keep your eye out for the email with the various bits on. Oh, sorry, two more questions. How much spending money do they need? Good. Okay. The, the only places where they're going to spend money essentially is in the city. Then for 6 days-ish, they're not going to spend any money because there's no way to spend it. But when they're in Toronto, it's the same sort of prices as London. So you're probably always thinking about £10 to £15 a day. So I can't see them needing more than £25 to £50, but then it all depends on what it is they want to buy. They might want to buy memorabilia, they might want to buy other things or do other things. And that's sort of scout age. Tend to find when they go older, there's more things that they do, and especially when you hit network, there are more places that are more costly that they like to visit. So obviously those prices they go up. So yeah, completely. So, and Barnaby's asking, will the planes have onboard? And then William's right, yes, they will do. Awesome, cool. So yeah, if you do have questions going forward, WhatsApp is the place, or Facebook. Join those groups, ask them there. We will be pretty good at answering them. Give us a couple of days, but normally I suspect it will be within hours you'll get a response. See you on the 19th. I will send all this information out via email, and I will also send a link to the YouTube video that I'll whack it up to, so you can play it back to your heart's content if you want to replay it. And I'll also send obviously the email for the finances. That'll probably go out tomorrow morning once I've got everything sorted. And I've just seen another question from Barnaby. Will there be? Yes, Barnaby, because I've gone vegetarian, so there will definitely be vegetarian options in the wilderness. So all good. Excellent. Thank you very much, people. I will speak to you soon. If not, I will see you on the 19th of January, and I'll catch you then. As a vegetarian.